back to She Became Visible. I'm back. Whew. And it's interesting when you are gone for a couple of weeks. I literally had to how do I do that? Where do I go? How might we, I kind of had to get back into the swing of things for this podcast. Whew, it's been an amazing almost month. It's very strange when you leave the country in one month and return the following month, and they're both holiday months. And that's what I've run into because we literally left on October 31st for South Africa, and we flew 27 something hours. And then we returned, and it was like a 36-hour flight, and we returned on November 18th. So we lost Halloween. Thanksgiving is next week. I have no idea what that even means. I am not in the holiday spirit whatsoever. I was not able to do my favorite holiday, which is Halloween. I did zero decorations. Christmas decorations are up in different stores and buildings, and I'm like, why? What's going on? And I remember as we were returning, I'm looking at the ads on Instagram for Black Friday, and I'm like, why is everybody talking about Black Friday? It's like, oh, that's like the day after Thanksgiving, which is coming up. It's just been very confusing. I don't know if I would recommend it, but I want to tell you about my trip to South Africa and some of the things that I learned that I want to share. And primarily, my most important message that I want to share is stop shaming American tourists. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. I'm going to show you some slides. Of course, I have to. You are now captive, like the friends and the neighbors that used to be invited over for dinner after someone would travel and they would have to sit through an entire slideshow. That's what's going to happen today. But, I do know that it's possible for you to click off. I have a message with each one of these slides. So stick with me. Stay with me, people. So we're going to talk about traveling, especially in my demographic, people that are in their 70s and 80s. I don't know. It's hard to tell if there were people in their 90s, but there were a lot of people traveling in my demographic, I could tell, which says a lot for what is going on in the world because there were a ton of people traveling, a ton, bus loads of people traveling, which says a lot for where these economic fear messages are getting out. But in all fairness, I would say the number one demographic of people that were traveling were my age. And we are the baby boomers. And we did grow up in a different world with different advantages. And I know that there are checks and balances. And I know there's been lots of data out there showing interest rates, home costs, comparative salaries, yada, yada. So I know that we as baby boomers had our own struggles, but I do think that there is an ability in our demographic of a season. I don't know if the younger generations are going to be acknowledging their seasons the way baby boomers are, where you get married, you raise your family, you retire, and you travel or whatever. And it's going to be different for the next generation, I'm sure. But I really wanted to talk about what I saw. Now, obviously, this is my opinion. These are my observations. I have no data to bring to you, but this is just what I saw and what I felt as an American tourist traveling clear across the world to South Africa. It was like a 10 or 11-hour flight to London. And then we had a 6-7 hour layover. Then it was another 10-hour flight from London to Johannesburg. And it was a long flight. And that's a long ways to go, and I will never do it again. Sorry, New Zealand. Sorry, Australia. Sorry, any other country in South America. Been there. I'm not doing that again. And we were able to fly business class, which was great. This is the greatest thing that Africa has created. How many of you are familiar with amarula? It's very similar to a Bailey's cream, Irish cream, or a Kahlua. It is so much better. And what's interesting is when you ask for it, they literally give you an ounce. They will ask you if you want ice. You get an ice cube and an ounce of this stuff. So I don't know what the alcohol content is, but I'm like, fill up that glass, baby. That stuff tastes amazing. Because one of my favorite drinks is a White Russian. This tastes very much like a White Russian, but it's so good. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it in the United States or if I have to order it through Amazon or whatnot. It was a great find. And I'm not a big drinker. Like I said, I was a member of the Mormon church for over 50 years, so alcohol was not in my lifestyle. And I tried it after I left the church, and I really didn't find it that inviting. Most of the drinks that I tried tasted like fingernail polish remover, and I'm like, I don't know why. Why would I put my liver in peril and also my reputation and my mouth in danger of not being a little intoxicated? That's not really where I want to be. So I didn't see or find anything that I thought was even worth drinking. I mean, to me, it was like, okay, well, I feel a little dizzy and that stuff tasted horrible. So why are we doing this? I don't remember. But I did find White Russians and three things: White Russian, espresso martini, and now this amarula. These are great drinks. So if I do decide to have some alcohol, those would be my drink choices. But regardless, anyway, so that's one of the greatest things about that I found in Russia. But I really wish people would stop shaming American tourists, because in reality, we did not run into a lot of Americans. We ran into a ton of people from the Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Germany, ton from Australia, tons and tons from Australia. And really very, very few Americans were on our tourist experiences in South Africa this last couple of weeks. I know this is going to be hard for you to believe, but people are people all over the world. People are people. And there really isn't, there are a few cultural things, and that's what we're going to talk about. There were definitely some cultural things that I saw, and I thought, you know what? I like American culture in this area, and we'll talk about that. So that's one of the things I want to talk about. So anyway, so stop shaming American tourists. And so let's show a little bit. First of all, this is when we first arrived. We had a wonderful driver that met us at the airport and took us to the first location. And really, this location was just a stayover, because the drive to the Safari Game Drive resort area was going to be a few hours. And so it was like 3 hours to get here and then another 3 hours. So this was a break point. It was very nice people. We did see some monkeys. That was fun. I got a great massage, and my husband was able to do a little ATV ride, which was fun. And the food was great. People were great. But anyway, so it was a nice stopover. But this top right picture is a picture that I took in Cuba. So this was a Cuban citizen. This picture was at the airport in South Africa. It must have been in Johannesburg. And this woman was South African. Now, what I'm showing you, these are two women from two different cultures, not American. Both of them are in yoga pants. But here's my thing. I don't care what country you live in. I don't care, what your travel experience is. Don't wear peach colored leggings, people. I know they're sold. Unless you're a beautiful, dark skinned woman that the peach is a contrast, it looks like you're naked. Okay. It looks like you're naked. And it is really a double take. It's a double take. Just don't wear peach colored leggings. I don't care who makes them, Lululemon. No, it's a color. It's a color. Don't wear them. So these are two different cultures, women in lycra. And the reason I point that out is because how many of you have heard, oh, I can always tell an American because Americans wear workout clothing. They wear yoga pants and exercise wear, and nobody in Europe wears that. Nobody would wear that outside of a yoga studio. Well, that's not true. I saw leggings everywhere. Why? Because they're comfortable and because they're a great, easy thing to pack. They don't take up a lot of room. You can wash them in your sink, and they're just very versatile. You can really mix and match them really well. And so I saw yoga pants, exercise everywhere. And so I really want that narrative to come to a halt. It's not just Americans, people. If it is Americans, great. That means we're really smart travelers. Okay. And I would contrast great yoga pants with, I saw really great combos with the shoes and the jackets and the whole bit with yoga pants. I would love to see that way more than the safari clothing that I saw on every tourist that we went to. And it was almost like some kind of a comparative, oh, you're going to South Africa, you must wear safari wear. It's like, are you literally going on a safari? Because otherwise you're in a city. Just get your linen pants out and a great, tank top. And I saw that a lot as well, especially in Cape Town. Nobody was wearing safari clothes in Cape Town. It's a city. They're wearing city clothes. Lots of linen, lots of beautiful linen tops and sandals and linen sundresses and this kind of thing. And I blame this a lot on the travel agency because they will send you out a how to pack. And granted, I will say, when you're actually on a game drive, they want you to wear colors that match kind of the environment that you're in. And you're in a 4x4. The 4x4 is green. The driver is wearing safari khakis, and they don't want you to stand out. They want, or stand up. They want the animals to see you as part of the 4x4. And so you don't want to bring attention to yourself. Great. While you're in the vehicle on a game drive, you might want to wear your safari colors, your khakis and your green, army greens, and that kind of thing. That makes sense. Other than that, absolutely no reason to be wearing hiking gear. You don't need to zip off the bottom of your pants because you're not going into a stream. You're getting in a Jeep and then you're getting out of the Jeep. Okay. And a lot of the people that were on these safari game drives that we went on, they were in jean shorts, regular black shorts, some kind of a top, very just everyday kind of clothing. And so, it was really a misdirection by the travel company to make you think that you need to dress like you're literally on not just a game drive through a reserve, but you're going to hunt down an elephant in the bush. Okay. You're not doing that. All right. So let's get that straight right away. So just two things I wanted to point out. First of all, never, ever, ever wear flesh colored or peach leggings. I don't care what country you're from or where you're going. All right. That's the first one. So these are examples I want to show you of the misunderstanding or the narrative that has been okayed even by Americans. We have accepted it and we believe it and we take it to heart. And I want to say to you, this is misinformation. Well, this one right there is an example that I saw. These are two women and they're saying, French women don't do this and French women wear this. We wear them when we go out for brunch. We wear them when we go to a cafe. This is how French women dress. And I'm like, no, they don't. No, I mean, some may, but I will guarantee you, if you're traveling to France, unless you're on a private jet with your Louis Vuitton luggage, your steam trunks, you're not hauling this crap 10 hours on a plane. You're not doing that. So, yes, I agree that sometimes Americans dress way too casual. The khaki shorts, the obnoxious tennis shoes, athletic shoes, the big, huge Hawaiian print shirts. Yes, sometimes you can look and go, oh, yep, that's probably an American. But most of the time, people are dressed casually. They're on a tour. They're traveling people. They have a limited amount of a suitcase space, and they're not going to be packing a fur coat, fur hats, and whatever else these crazy women are putting in Chanel bags, obviously. On the lower right are two young ladies that were on a tour with us. Now, looking at those two young ladies, where would you think they were from? Notice that the one has quite a few tattoos. She's just got her hair up in a messy bun. She had on lovely linen pants and a tank top. Her friend had on a linen pants and a linen shirt. Here again, perfect example. They're on a game drive. Okay. They're not dressed like they're going for a hike in the Columbia Gorge. They are on a game drive. They're sitting in a 4x4. Their clothing was fine. But you would look at those two girls and you would go, oh, they must be American. No, they're not. They were German. They are from Germany, but they're living in Switzerland. The one with the messy bun is a snowboard instructor, and the other one works at a hotel. And they're great friends and they're traveling. Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. And this one that I can't show you, I'll see if I can grab it at another point, but this one is an entire huge busload of tourists that got out at the Victoria Falls. And you would guess they were a busload of Americans. They were all dressed in hiking clothes. The men all had good sized bellies. The women were all appropriately a little chunky for their age. They just looked like people. They didn't look like any culture. They just look like people. And so I really wanted to point that out. I will say one thing. The food in Africa was out of this world. According to one of our drivers, they don't need to import anything. Their fruit, their vegetables, their beef, just amazing. I mean, when you ask for a side dish of mixed vegetables with your fabulous steak, every single vegetable tasted like what it was. The carrots tasted like carrots, the zucchini tasted like zucchini, the squash was amazing. Squash soup, butternut squash, peaches, fresh peaches, everything was amazing. And we were able to go to a wine tour. Vineyards are all over and they're beautiful. Beautiful. And the cheese, the goat cheese, oh, the feta. It was the most amazing food, I have to say. And I know you've heard that about other countries, but I'm telling you, Africa, your food is enough to tempt me to go back, but I might find a good African restaurant here in the Scottsdale area. It would be interesting to compare to see, because the vegetables and everything is so fresh. And I would wager to guess that it doesn't contain the chemicals that we have here in America. So here we are at Victoria Falls, and we did the zip line. And the reason I'm showing you this, let me make this a little bit bigger again. I'm 71, my husband is 72. And in order for us to get on this zip line, and I will say, if you ever have an opportunity to do a zip line and they ask you if you want to go independently or as a couple, go independently. Going as a couple was so uncomfortable. It was awkward. Your seating is off balance. Where to put your hands is awkward. It was not fun. It was not fun. I wish we would have gone independently. But in order to get on the zip line, you had to walk up the stairs, walk up to the platform, and then literally step down, sit, and then walk until you just walk off that little thing on the right. You can see that platform on the right. This was more difficult for my husband than it was for me. Wasn't difficult for me because I'm used to doing squats and leg exercises. He is not. He's a golfer. So it was very obvious to him that he needs to work on his lower body strength, but we were able to do it quite successfully. And the other thing I wanted to show you was look here on the bottom. These were the 4x4s that we went on the game drives. Notice that both of these trucks had to bring step ladders so that these people could get in and out of these vehicles. It was not an issue for us. So it just emphasized to me how important it is to stay physically strong in your older age. It's not a matter of getting on the plane. There are some wonderful YouTube videos out there about how to travel in your 60s and 70s and 80s. And the airlines are very hospitable with wheelchair services and pre-loading and this kind of thing. Is that how you want to go? I mean, is that what you want to do? And being able to climb into the Jeep, climb out of the Jeep, do a zip line or anything like that, it made it so much easier. So in my efforts to encourage people in my demographic to exercise, primarily work on your legs. Getting in and out of the chair, in and out of car, in and out of the plane is really important that you have your leg strength. And then, of course, your upper body, if you're going to haul a carry-on on the airplane and you've got to put it in that overhead container, you need to be able to lift something up, okay? These people were able to do it, but they had to have assistance, and that just makes it a lot harder. So, but Victoria Falls was absolutely beautiful. And again, my husband and I came from the Pacific Northwest, which is a beautiful part of the world. And we do have waterfalls there, but this was really beautiful. And actually, it is in the lower rain time right now. A little bit further into the season, they will get more and more rain. And then those waterfalls are just thunder. But it was really beautiful. And it was a simple walking tour. It really, really was nice. And this is one thing, if you ever go to Victoria Falls, do not take a helicopter. We took a helicopter ride, just do the walk. It's way more awesome when you're walking by and you're getting the water on your face. You really don't see that much more on the helicopter ride. So I will save you money there. I just wanted to point out, this was a couple that we met. They were on the same tour that we were on. There were only 4 of us, and they're from Chicago. Fabulous people. I'm really hoping that we travel together some more because they were easygoing, a lot of the same personality traits that my husband and I have, just really easygoing and really fun. And from them being from Chicago was great for me because we had a lot of same, commonalities. She works in Aurora. I'm from Aurora. She also goes to Naperville. I lived right near Naperville. It was really fun. And Mari had and this is a note, I should get paid for this, had a Samsung. And her pictures were amazing. And I'm sorry, iPhone, your cameras suck. Get a Samsung or get a 35 millimeter, one of the two. Her pictures were amazing. And this is the funny part. The very first lodge that we stayed at, they would have a game drive early in the morning and then another game drive at night. And so we did the game drive every morning, but the last one we did was pouring down rain. We were getting soaked. We didn't see anything really. And so when it came to the night drive, I'm like, I'm not doing that. Sorry. I'm going to go get a massage. I'm not driving around for 3 hours in the rain again. So Mari and Jesse went, and this is what they saw. They got the lion. And this was a picture from her Samsung 2025 phone. Can you believe that? And so they came back from their game drive. We went out to dinner and they said, well, you should have gone. We saw the lion. I was like, oh, dang it. But did I learn my lesson? No. The next night, I said, I'm not going to go because the same thing. We went on the early morning game drive and we saw the same things that we had seen before. And so I was like, I'm done. I cannot spend another 3 hours in a car. I just can't. And of course, they saw the lion again. So my loss for sure by just not participating. So if that teaches you anything, it's like, just do it. Just do it, and it was really interesting because we had the same kind of experience where, sitting in a car for 3 hours is really hard for me. And going on these game drives, and the last one we went on, we literally saw nothing. I mean, we saw a ton of impalas. There's impalas everywhere. So we saw a lot of those, but we didn't even see elephants. I felt so badly. Those two young girls that were there from Switzerland, that was their only game drive that they were going on. And we were at Choba National Reserves, and we were guaranteed to see prides of lions. We saw I felt so badly for them. Okay. The very first lodge that we stayed in was Chukatu Lodge, and this was in Johannesburg. And those game drives, we actually saw more animals on those game drives than we did on any of the other ones that we did. And this is a picture that I took with my iPhone. And it was fun. It was so fun to see the zebra. But there were quite a few zebras on all of the game drives that we went on. And of course, there were a ton of elephants, except for on that very last one. And we saw more elephants on the Chukadu Lodge experience. And we got really close. And this is the other one that I wanted to show you that Mari was able to get. And I was like, dang, girlfriend, I can't believe you were able to do that. They took us to a diamond factory. Because, I mean, we're in South Africa, right? And they explained the whole deal with the diamonds and where they came from and all this kind of stuff. So, of course, they take you on a little tour of the diamond factory and show you how they're mined and how they, cut the diamonds and blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, then they take you into the jewelry store. And so my husband is very sweet. It was our 51st wedding anniversary. And so he said, I want to buy you something. And I'm like, absolutely. Sounds good to me. And so, we're looking at things and I have a beer budget and champagne taste. So of course I'm looking at these diamonds going, well, oh, that looks good. And I would ask how much it was. Then I would look at him and he'd kind of like look at me with like fear in his eyes. I'm like, okay, look, do you have a budget? And he's like, well, I was kind of thinking, and it's like, all right, I'll get back to reality here. I have to catch him on a good day, right? And so he ended up buying me a beautiful tanzanite, which is from Tanzania in Africa. And I love it. It's beautiful, it's unique, and it's a really great memory of being in South Africa. Can you believe it? She took that with her Samsung on the night that I decided to get a massage instead of going on the game drive. And this leopard was up in a tree. He had just done a kill. He had killed an impala, and so he had dragged it up to the tree. And then the picture of the lion that I showed you, the lion was sitting underneath the tree. That is enough to get me to go buy a Samsung like today. It was amazing. We were literally this close. And at the very end on the last game drive that we went on, all of these elephants were right by the lodge gate. I mean, we could have, well, you don't want to walk out there, but it was just literally, there was like 3 or 4 elephants and they were just destroying these trees. I mean, they were just knocking these trees over and they were eating the branches and all the leaves and things. The elephants would just start walking towards us and then he would turn the Jeep on and just kind of back up. He knew what he was dealing with. But it's an interesting thing because you are in the wild. And so they're telling you, don't go outside and don't walk at dark and don't do this and don't do that. And we were very, very good, obedient people to follow that rule. Let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to show you. This was a group of young male elephants, and, once they reach a certain age, they are literally kicked out of the herd. This matriarchal system is so smart. So, the female elephants are like, "You're good, bye-bye, go become a man." And so, there was just this herd of male young elephants, and they were eating right by the road as we were leaving, actually. We were leaving the game park, and this one was a little feisty, and he was gonna charge the Jeep. Fortunately, behind us was a very large tour bus, and the tour bus was able to get in, literally pulled back and waited for the tour bus to get in front, and then we went alongside the tour bus to protect us from this male elephant charging us. So let me show you, he's just got an attitude. You could just see he's just looking at us like, "Yeah, I don't think I want you on the road."
Hey, this is the best thing we've had. I'm
See
videoing the
how he's
whole
coming
thing.
towards us? He's like, "I am in charge of this area."
Not now.
And you can listen to the two girls from Germany that were in front of us. These are the only elephants they saw when we were leaving the camp.
You go first.
They were so excited. But they're coming to the tour bus. So the tour bus was able to get in front of us, and then we were able to go along because he was not going to let us leave. He was like, "No, no, I'm sorry, this is my road." Really tall. Not a heavy fall or just astounding. It's a beautiful place to visit, really. And it was fun because they call it the rainforest, and because there's the water that's coming off of the falls, and so everything's wet and green, and it was just really, really beautiful. Okay, this is a little clip I made, so how close we are. Water buffalo. So we were able to see all five, the five animals that Africa is known for: the rhino, the elephant, the lion, the leopard, and the giraffe. And we were able to see all of them. Unfortunately, Amari was able to see the leopard, but I was only able to see a leopard because they took us to a conservatory. It's like, and they were held captive. So, here's a leopard. We're going to drive you out. Sure enough. Yep, that's right. There's the leopard. Cape Town was okay. It's a city, but this was fun. These kids were really. So that was fun. Cape Town was, like I said, it looked a lot like South Beach in Florida. It kind of had that vibe, the little boutiques and restaurants right across from the beach. But I was glad that we went. I mean, Johannesburg, unfortunately, has turned into like the number one crime area of the world. Ever since Mandela died and apartheid has been kind of taken over. The government that took over after Mandela died is not an honest, good. They're not honest, good people. There is a lot of turmoil going on over there, and it's really sad because the claim is always, "Oh, we don't have the money. Would really like to put these buildings back in order, but what are you going to do? We don't have the money." And I'm like, "Well, that's funny because you're whatever they are, prime minister, whatever they're called in Africa, president of that particular country, is extremely wealthy." So it's just so sad. It's so sad to see this kind of thing go on. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was there are circumstances behind these cultures and these countries that form traditions and etiquette and things like that. Now, one of the things we had dinner with on one of our game drives was a couple from Denmark. And she said, we speak at least 2 to 3 languages in Denmark. Just from the time these children are able to talk, they're learning languages at a very young age. And she said, because we're a very small nation, there's only 5 million in our nation, and we are surrounded by these other countries. We have to learn another language. And I thought, okay, I never thought of it from that perspective. They are bordered by these other countries. You have to learn another language. 5 million is the population of Phoenix. That's how small these countries are. And so when you look at America, how large America is, we're surrounded by oceans. Every state speaks the same language. We don't have to. So it's become almost like a right and a status symbol that we don't speak any other language besides English. It's embarrassing. It's so sad. sad. And now we have these beautiful people that are coming from, Mexico and other countries, and they speak Spanish. And Americans are so cocky to think, how dare you speak another language in my country? Go to another country, people. A lot of them speak English for you. And because they understand that in order to live in the world, writ large, you have to be able to speak another language. But Americans don't think they have to. People that were from Sweden were speaking Swedish, and then they also spoke English. There's beautiful young girls from Germany were speaking German, Swiss, and American. I think Americans should be embarrassed that we don't speak another language rather than being cocky and proud that they don't have to speak another language. So that's one of the things that I felt as I toured. One of the things I will say, I think Americans are actually more polite. And I found it very awkward and strange that people would queue up to get on a train or a bus, but the minute those doors opened, it was you're on your own. Good luck. I hope you're alive when this is over. Rushing, crowding, pushing to get, and just like, excuse me, I was in line and people are cutting in front of you and pushing behind you. And I was like, whoa, that's different. And I kind of learned that when I lived in Japan. And you get that when you come from a country that is so overpopulated and so crowded, and they use mass transportation daily. And so they learn that it is really a live or let live activity to get on that train. And we in America don't have that. We get in our little cars and our private little driveways and we drive wherever we're going. So most of the time, I will say, my generation anyway, we waited in line. We might even say, oh my gosh, go ahead of me. So I want to give that kudos to Americans. I think they're more polite when it comes to queuing up for something. And the pushing and the shoving was a little bit, whoa, what's going on here? A little unsettling. So I found that to be true. I found the Americans to be very polite, very kind, and very anxious to get to know the other people that were on the tour, and very, very over complimentary to the people that were serving. And I just thought they were beautiful people. And so they didn't look any different. In fact, there was a man that was on our walk when we were walking around Victoria Falls. And literally, he could have been out of a Mary Poppins movie. He was this Australian man. He was very short and round. He was bald, so his head was very round. His body was very round. And he had on a red and white striped shirt and green athletic joggers. I'm like, you're right out of a Mary Oompa Loompa. He looked like an Oompa Loompa. But he was very happy. And I'm like, well, that's not an American. I mean, so there's quirky people in every culture. Leave Americans alone. Two things. Leave Americans alone. They have wonderful, beautiful traits, and they're wonderful people, especially those that are traveling, because most of them, it's not their first experience. And they've learned that if you want to get rid of racism and a superiority complex or a feeling of entitlement, travel, as Mark Twain would say. And I think these people have traveled. And so they have learned the beauty of other cultures. They also love and appreciate their own culture. But I will say, I'm tired of the YouTubes where, this is what the people in the street look like in Italy. And I'm like, no, they don't. No, they don't. I've been to Italy. You're going to see yoga pants. You're going to see jeans. You're going to see tennis shoes. You're going to see jogging wear, because that's the reality. People, it's a global universe. We all have televisions. We all see what people are wearing in New York or California, and everyone throughout the world, young people are copying that look. So lighten up on Americans, all right? I purposely took one pair of yoga pants because I had been shamed and told you can't wear yoga pants. It's just people are so passe. Oh, she must be American. She's in yoga pants. And I'm walking around going, well, I don't think everybody at this airport is American, and all the women are in yoga pants. So that needs to go. I love America. I love the American people. I think on a whole, they're wonderful, good people. And I really would encourage all of you who have not traveled outside the United States to do so. I think it will open up your mind. The poverty is absolutely astounding sometimes. And then also the beauty and the wealth of nature is, we have some pretty beautiful places in America, I will say. And there were a lot of comparisons that I did, but still it's fun to see. Victoria Falls is Victoria Falls. And do we have the Grand Canyon? Yes. Do we have Multnomah Falls and beautiful falls in the Pacific Northwest? Yes. But it's Victoria Falls. And so why not? How many times do you have to see the Eiffel Tower? Go somewhere else. So anyway, I loved our trip to South Africa. I'm glad it's over. I was so glad to get back to my bed and my quiet little bedroom and all of the other things. And I didn't have to spray mosquito spray on. I didn't have to sleep underneath a net, which I really didn't have to do. In South Africa, the mosquito is not really that big of a deal. I did get bit when we were on one of our game drives and we got out of our Jeep to eat a little snack and talk a little bit and standing there in the grass. Even though I had sprayed early that morning, the mosquitoes just were like, oh, lunchtime. Have a good time on this woman's foot. Okay. And so I had some itchy feet for a while. But sleeping in our rooms, we didn't see any bugs or it wasn't distracting or anything like that. It was really nice. So thank you for joining me today on She Became Visible. Please subscribe. And the holidays are coming up. What are we going to talk about, ladies? Give me some ideas. There's so much going on in the world right now, isn't there? I don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about something else. Let's talk about anything else but the Epstein files, crazy Mormons. Let's talk about making a New Year's resolution to let your hair go gray. All right, let's do that. That would be so great. Thank you for joining me today on She Became Visible. And hopefully you will see me next week and we will have something fun to talk about to welcome in the holidays. It will be after Thanksgiving, pretty sure. And so it will be, the beginning of December. Lots of festivities going on in Arizona. My husband and I are going to a panda festival this weekend, which is going to be really fun. I can't wait. In fact, I'll take pictures. Maybe I'll do my podcast next week on the panda festival. So that's the great thing about Arizona is all of you people are now entering into winter. So you're closing down your festivals, your art festivals, and all of your outdoor activities. And Arizona is entering into their winter, which is beautiful 75-degree weather, except today. It's cold. It's 55. It's been raining. My swimming pool is overflowing. My backyard looks great, though. It's very green, but it's cold and it's wet. And I'm like, ooh, this is the kind of weather that you just want to stay in bed and cuddle. But all the festivities are starting. And of course, they have some great Christmas things, even though it's crazy Arizona and it's, warm. So anyway, thanks for joining me today. Thanks for joining me on She Became Visible. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.